with the left hand. First lead for the Liberty since 32-30.
Angel Reese walked into Gainbridge Fieldhouse, famously known as Caitlin Clark's home court, with expectations as complex as her rising stardom. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to be a neutral showcase of elite talent, a celebration of the league's growth and the shining futures of its brightest stars. But for Angel, this moment in Indianapolis carried deeper emotional and cultural weight. She was entering a space that had, just months prior, been symbolic of tension, rivalry, and narrative-fueled scrutiny. Many expected her to be greeted with a mixture of admiration and hostility, with media outlets primed to dissect every expression, every cheer, every boo. But what unfolded was something far more powerful. From the moment Angel's name was announced during player introductions, the crowd inside the arena erupted, not in disdain or awkward applause, but in a thunderous standing ovation that shook the floor and altered the mood of the entire weekend. It wasn't just noise, it was recognition. It was validation. It was a seismic shift in how the league's new generation of talent was being perceived. In that moment, in Clark's house, Reese wasn't the villain some in the media had painted her to be. She was a star, and she was home. This All-Star Game wasn't like the ones in previous years. Yes, it was filled with flashy play, highlight dunks, and logo threes. But it was also overshadowed by rising tension within the WNBA. The collective bargaining agreement, CBA, loomed large over the weekend, with players increasingly vocal about pay disparities, flight accommodations, revenue sharing, and marketing inequities. The league was expanding both in viewership and media coverage, but many of the athletes felt they were not seeing the benefits reflected in their contracts or working conditions. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Mika Ogwumike, and Nafisa Collier were among those who had spoken out publicly about the need for long-term structural change. And so, against that backdrop, Angel's reception in Indianapolis wasn't just a feel-good moment, it was a statement. It was the fans' way of saying, "We see you, we hear you, we support the players, not just the personalities." When Angel took the court for Team Collier facing off against Team Clark, there was an undeniable buzz. She played just 17 minutes, but they were some of the most watched and discussed minutes of the night. She racked up 6 points, grabbed 9 rebounds, and played her signature brand of aggressive, unrelenting defense. She boxed out like it was a playoff game. She dove for loose balls. She refused to coast. Her impact wasn't just in the box score, it was in the energy she brought. She was one of 4 Team Collier players to grab at least 4 rebounds, helping secure a dominant 117-109 victory. Nafisa Collier herself had an astonishing game, scoring 36 points on 13 of -16, shooting en route to the All-Star MVP award. But after the game, the spotlight returned again and again to Reese, not because she was the statistical standout, but because she was the emotional core of the night. Reese, who just a year prior had faced widespread media backlash over her on-court taunts and supposed lack of sportsmanship during LSU's national title run, had once again shown that she doesn't fold under pressure, she thrives in it. Her college rivalry with Caitlin Clark had been magnified, distorted, and, in many ways, weaponized. What had been a moment of competitive spirit between 2 elite athletes had spiraled into a months-long media circus. And even as both Clark and Reese tried repeatedly to put the drama behind them, it was clear that some fans and commentators weren't ready to let go. But something was different in Indy. The crowd seemed to finally move past the rivalry and embrace both women for what they truly were: generational athletes who were growing the game in real time. To see thousands of Caitlin Clark fans rise to their feet for Angel Reese was an emotional punctuation mark in a year full of growth and reflection for the WNBA. It showed that fan bases were evolving, becoming more discerning, and pushing beyond simple media-fueled narratives. The cheers weren't just about forgiveness or sportsmanship. They were about admiration, about growth, about the resilience Reese had displayed in the face of criticism. Her authenticity in interviews, her commitment to using her platform to advocate for other women athletes, especially black women, often overlooked or unfairly judged in the media. The ovation was a cultural mirror reflecting back the shifting values of the league and its fans. And Angel noticed it. During post-game interviews, her voice was steady but emotional as she talked about the moment. "I didn't expect that," she said with a smile. "I really didn't, but it means a lot. It means things are changing. We're not being pitted against each other anymore, we're being celebrated for who we are." Clark echoed a similar sentiment when asked about Reese's reception. "It was awesome. I've said it before, what Angel brings to this league is incredible. She's tough, she's passionate, and she cares. That's what this league needs. The mutual respect between them, once buried under layers of controversy and media manipulation, was finally starting to surface in the public eye. Off the court, Reese had also been making headlines. Her endorsement deals, social media presence, and the recent release of her signature shoe had drawn both praise and backlash. Some questioned whether she had earned the spotlight. Others criticized her style, her swagger, even her honesty. But over time, many of those same critics were forced to reckon with her impact. She had helped usher in a new era of WNBA attention, one that wasn't afraid of boldness, one that embraced both skill and personality. Her All-Star Weekend performance, capped by that standing ovation, symbolized the culmination of that journey. She had faced scrutiny, but she hadn't backed down. She had been tested, but she hadn't been broken. The All-Star Game also served as a pivotal moment for the WNBA's broader identity. This wasn't just about Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark. This was about all the women who have long fought for equity, recognition, and basic respect. The WNBA Players Association had been locked in quiet but growing conflict with league leadership. Players wanted charter flights, higher salaries, better maternity benefits, and more autonomy in branding. They wanted the freedom to express themselves without being forced into one-dimensional roles. And now, with rising attendance, TV ratings, and fan engagement fueled largely by the new wave of talent, they were in a stronger bargaining position than ever before. The All-Star Weekend was the unofficial kickoff to what promises to be one of the most important labor negotiations in league history. Back inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, as the final buzzer sounded and the confetti fell, Angel stood mid, taking it all in. Around her, fans shouted her name, held up handmade signs, and filmed her every move. Some wore Clark jerseys. Others wore LSU gear. It didn't matter anymore. In that moment, the basketball world saw a truth that had always been there. That Angel Reese wasn't a villain, a sidekick, or a headline prop. She was a leader, a cornerstone of the league's future. A player whose presence demanded attention not just because of how she played, but because of what she represented. Authenticity, courage, change. In the days following the All-Star Game, sports talk shows and podcasts buzzed with takes on Reese's reception. Some called it a redemption arc. Others said it was overdue. But to those who had followed her journey closely, it wasn't about redemption, it was about recognition. Angel Reese had always been this player, always been this passionate, always been this committed. The difference was, the world was finally catching up. The crowd in Indiana, once thought to be hostile ground, became the setting of her most powerful moment yet. A city that had once booed her now stood behind her. That's not just growth. That's legacy in the making. And so, as the league prepares for a turbulent but necessary fight over labor rights, image control, and financial equity, Angel Reese stands as a symbol of where the WNBA is headed, no longer content to play nice or stay quiet. Today's stars are unafraid to demand more respect, more opportunity, more space to be themselves. The fans, it seems, are finally ready to meet them there. Angel Reese found her voice long ago now. The league and its fan base are finally listening. Like, share, and subscribe for more powerful moments from the heart of the WNBA, where talent meets transformation. And players like Angel Reese are rewriting the rules. There are moments in sports when the crowd noise says more than a press conference ever could. When Angel Reese walked into Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, Caitlin Clark's home arena, she stepped into what many expected to be a tension-filled atmosphere. But instead of boos or icy silence, she was met with a wave of sound so thunderous it nearly cracked the hardwood. A standing ovation. Deafening applause. Thousands rising not just for a player, but for what she represented, in a city that had once been viewed as enemy territory, where narratives about rivalries and resentment had dominated headlines. Angel Reese received one of the loudest welcomes of the night. And that ovation did more than just acknowledge her growth as a player. It symbolized something deeper, a cultural turning point for the WNBA, its fans, and its future. That reception wasn't just about stats. It wasn't just about her hustle or her 9 rebounds in 17 minutes of play. It was a reflection of the league's transformation and the rising urgency behind